The following audio may contain coarse language and other material that may not be suitable for a younger audience. Viewer discretion is advised. Also, we may spoil anything and everything, so you have been warned.
Hello and welcome to the Save Point Podcast, our last episode of 2016. We made it.
Oh my gosh.
The podcast wasn't killed by 2016. Somehow it lived.
Weirdly, it's going to be something that we go back to and think about the fact that like 4 of our podcasts were birthed in 2016.
Yeah.
Three of them.
3.
So we rise from the ashes.
Again and again and again.
I think, do we want to say something real quick about Carrie Fisher?
Yeah. Unfortunately, when
please.
we're recording this, she just passed away, and I just want to say it's really sad. She was a big role model to me as a person for portraying really hardcore, badass, sarcastic women. Obviously, Star Wars, and I would just say as a recommendation, if you haven't seen the TV show Catastrophe, I highly recommend it. It's an awesome British-American co-production show, and she plays the sarcastic mom of one of the main characters, and she's awesome, and I'm really sad they'll probably have to write her out of the show now. But that's sort of my take. I'm not sure how about you, Jack or Peter.
Yeah, I think some of the history, and it's actually funny too. It's only when people die sometimes that you look back on their life and kind of think that, like, I never thought of Carrie Fisher as like doing other things outside of Princess Leia, which is what she's most famous for. But like,
Right.
I was reading an article today about like all the work that she did as like a script doctor.
Yeah.
And like she was actually a very vocal writer and like wrote on all this stuff. And I was like, shit, I'm kind of and I don't mean to like crap on Princess Leia. Like, she is a sex symbol and an icon, and the gold bikini will always be the gold standard of what makes me horny. I mean, that's just a fact. Like, you know, I know that she was probably tortured later on by being that kind of sexual icon later on.
Yes.
And that's troublesome. But I think going back and seeing like that she actually went on and like got past all of that and then went on to have a successful career as a script doctor and a writer, like that's just unbelievable to me. And it's surely a loss. It's surely a loss to the future of Star Wars. It's surely a loss to the things that she had been working on, and it's surely a loss to, like you said, some of her TV endeavors and the things. So it's a loss.
Yeah, and just to add to that, in a similar way, you know, we also a couple of days ago also lost George Michael. So to speak to that, right?
Oh,
yeah,
right.
yeah. Everything's
awful.
happening in like the last month of this year, and I'm not happy.
I'm not gonna lie. I gave Ben so much shade today because I was like, Ben was like, he's talking about fuck 2016. I was like, I'm so tired of everyone, because I read an article about it, and I was like, I'm so tired of everyone saying fuck 2016. We're just gonna have dead celebrities from now on till the end of time. But then I started going back and looking through like the actual listing, and I was like, oh, I forgot about Prince. Oh, I forgot about Gene Wilder.
Like you go back.
Oh,
and
I
like,
forgot about
wait.
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah,
Fuck.
you go back in there and you're like, wait, this month it was this person, this month it was that person. You're like, wait a minute. But anyway, in the same way that George Michael was kind of a beacon of light to anyone who was queer with how open he was about it. The same can be said for Carrie Fisher with how she was a beacon of light as far as bipolarism. Like she was open to talking about that kind of stuff. With people, and so even outside of her career endeavors, just with her on a personal level, like with who she was, it's like, even in that respect, it's a big loss to the world.
Yeah, so that's our tribute to Carrie Fisher. We'll miss you very much.
Dearly.
So, let's get back onto lighter subjects. Jack, what have you been playing this week?
Well, I've actually been playing the Christmas present you gave me, Ben. So, like I said, I had finished Final Fantasy 15. I have been kind of trying to... Yeah, I finished.
Remember, he powered through it.
I powered through it. And I've come back and I started a new game, and I've been playing that for a while, trying to do some more things, do more side quests, get a better sense of it. But I've kind of gotten a little bit, I think, sick of it.
A little burned out for now.
Yeah, I'm a little bit FF15 burned out. Like
That's fair.
it's got enough milk in there to get it out, and there's some cool moments in there. But I think I'm coming around to having a generally negative viewpoint of Final Fantasy 15. I don't know. I have a lot to. They tried a thing, and I appreciate that. I don't know that this version of this game is going to go down in history as the thing that I love. They tried to do a thing, and I like that they took such a directorial direction with like the 4 guys in a car, but it's not my fantasy, and that's kind of what I sorry, that's weird. I don't know what it is. I mean, the 4 guys in the car is fine. It's fine. No, I understand where they're coming from with like the general things. They try to. It's kind of. I actually kind of suggest it to sort of like a. Kind of like Moonrise Kingdom, or like what's the director's name? Oh my god, I cannot remember names. Wes Anderson. I kind of like liken it to a Wes Anderson film in like a sort of way. It doesn't. It attempts to create a feeling of a time and a place that is more a concept than ever was actually a thing.
Interesting.
And so like it's the concept is this kind of this sense of the brotherhood, this sense of a team of people, this sense of the thing that's kind of gone into Final Fantasy games, and I feel like it's trying to create that, and to that extent it does that, but at some sense I get sick of that kind of mindset and sick of that a little bit to some extent. Like I have to admit, like people are like more. I can't. It's one of those things where I've come full circle with that game, where I've come around to like, oh, I love Prompto now, and now I'm back around to the. Oh, thank God, I don't have to listen to him. I mean, it's a weird sort of like full circle element to it. So I don't know where it is. But anyways, Ben gave me for Christmas Black Mesa, and I really appreciate it. I've been playing it. It is really, really good. And it's also nice to like compare some classical shooting to kind of like what the shooting this fall was and how I felt about it. I actually returned Battlefield 1 today.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I was done, and of the games I was going to keep, I was like, I'm not going to continue to play Battlefield 1 after this Christmas. I'm going to continue to play Overwatch. I'd already started playing Overwatch again. Of the campaigns I want to keep Titanfall 2, and I was like, I don't see a future for Battlefield 1 in there, and I returned it. Even if Titanfall goes dead on the multiplayer, I'm more than happy to keep Titanfall campaign. So.
Yeah, with the campaign.
Yeah, so that's what I've been playing. Also, just on a note, Black Mesa, Jesus Christ, like classic Half-Life. It's just like
it's a for those who don't know, these guys sort of were planning to do an HD remake of Half-Life, but then basically rebuilt the entire game in the Source engine to make it sort of function the way it's supposed to, and it's unbelievable fan effort, and the fact that Steam actually let them do it versus say Pokemon Uranium, it's kind of amazing that they sell it on the Steam store.
Yeah, I love Valve games like no shits.
Now we'll talk some shit about Valve later, but sometimes they're good.
We got a lot of shit to talk about Valve. So, but first off, like they let it happen. Whatever they want to say. I bet they thought they were insane when they were putting it up, but they were like whatever. Because it's like Valve's moved on past Half-Life, the Half-Life series. So they're like, oh, you still want this? I can't believe that. So passé.
So 2007.
You want to talk about threes? Oh. I don't know why they're French now. It's like, I don't know why my eternal example of somebody with disdain is French.
I feel like this is an American thing, Remember
like
when we
It's
were
very American.
I don't know how I'll ever explain to my kids that weird French backlash when we were invading Iraq. Do you remember that? We're like, it's so weird. We called them freedom fries, and we poured French wine down the drain, and we're like, why'd you do that? And we're like, I don't know.
I didn't pour French wine down the drain.
No, I didn't either, but it was just bizarre. That was a bizarre
I thought it was stupid. It's like freedom fries. I was like, you realize that has nothing to do with France, right?
Yeah, it's French. It's a type of cut.
What?
Like it has, like literally has nothing to do with the country.
Yeah, it's a type of cut on a vegetable.
Wait.
Yeah, it's called Frenching, like when you French potatoes.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That is like that. That's the thing. And you have julienne fries.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It would be really weird if the thing after that is like we just switched to like a different style of cutting fries.
Make a freedom
For
cut.
like a year. It was like that was the year we had little shitty shoestring fries at McDonald's. Fuck that year.
Or maybe that's where waffle fries came from, and everything got better. We don't know.
Oh my god, waffle fries are fucking
Time to
amazing.
do that. Time to do a history check on waffle fries.
Well, this week I haven't been playing it since I'm actually at my parents' house in Houston. But before I left, I got a hold of my SNES copy of Zelda: A Link to the Past. One of the I'd say 3 sort of cornerstones of the Zelda, alongside the original and Ocarina of Time, is sort of consistently being argued about being the best. I personally always love Majora's Mask because I love dark tones like that, and I just think the storytelling of Majora's Mask is so good. But this game is very interesting, and it's sort of funny because I thought I played it, but playing it now I realize, I've just played this game remade a bunch of times on handheld games. Like,
Oh yeah, that's true.
Oracle of Seasons and Ages and Minish Cap, and a lot of them use so many of the same elements, so many of the same designs, a lot of the same monsters in a lot of the same ways. So I don't think I've actually played it, and it's hard. It's harder than I was expecting. I'm actually having a decent amount of challenge to it, but it's been interesting to watch. It's sort of like it reminds me of watching an older film where not all the pieces are quite here that like they would be with Legend of Zelda. It has the same sort of arc where like you have to get 3 things, and then once you get the 3 things, you're like, wait, I'm done already, and they're like, no, now I have to get 7 things.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
a lot of backtracking and like collecting stuff just.
Yeah, and like different dimensions and jumping
Right.
between. There's like 2 different worlds. You know, obviously there's like the young world and the new world, and that one here, this one's like the dark world and the light world, and I'm really enjoying it quite a bit, even though I'm getting my ass kicked more than I care to admit.
So I want to talk about it eventually, but over Christmas I bought my mom the NES.
The
Ooh.
NES
Yeah,
Classic.
the Nintendo. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. She was she refuses to go beyond the original. It's like she won't even do Super Nintendo games, like because we had the Nintendo and that was like her jam, and she still has it out, and she actually wore out the original Nintendo,
Oh my
which is
God.
impressive because she can beat I honestly like in the past have like wanted to try to like get her into speed running and stuff.
My mom.
Too much glitching though.
My mom was like that with our Sega Master System, my brother's Sega Master System, and the game of things Helicopter Rescue or Chopper or something. It was a game where you had to basically save people in a helicopter and avoid missiles. And my mom was the only one who could get to level 4. Like, she's the only one who was actually able to get really, really good at it.
Pro level mom.
Yeah, and so I do find it interesting when parents are gamers but have that one game that they're just like crushed.
Yeah, she just won't advance beyond it. Like I've tried everything, like even like handhelds and stuff, and she's like really into it. Like she's not only into it, like way better at it than I am. Like she is way better at Super Mario than I am. Like it was really great to get her that gift. She hasn't played it yet, but I'm actually really curious if I can give it like maybe a full review of it or something else in the
I would
future.
love that. I would like to
Yeah.
hear about it.
That'd be great.
Have you
Yeah.
found any issues so far with the cord length? Because that seems to be one of the major problems.
Oh, it's
short.
stupid. It's stupid. It's why I haven't played it.
It's so short.
It's ridiculous. It's like I don't understand. We unboxed it. I didn't know about it, and I was like, what?
What?
And they have like a wall plasma, and they have like a little cabinet where we were gonna put the thing, and it's like you know, she has to stand and be like facing this wall, and it's like why we didn't play it. I was like,
Can
I'll get you.
Can I tell you my theory about why it's so short?
Because you're gonna buy, like everyone knows, man. Like it's because you gotta buy a bunch of this shit.
That's part of it, but I also think because they made that originally for the Wiimote, because it fits into the Wiimote and works with the Wiimote. It's the same plug port. And with the Wiimote, you would just have it on your lap, right? And then you would play like
Right.
old NES games, and it was going to be like this. And then they were like, wait, let's make a whole bundle. And then they just never made new controllers, I think.
Yeah.
That's my theory.
Huh.
I bet you're right about that.
Yeah,
Jeez,
'cause
that's
once
actually
I saw
smart.
like it
about
works in the Wiimote, I was like, oh, I bet that's why.
For whatever reason, stupid design and construction issues is way better to me than like just like a fuck you, go buy a longer cord.
Yeah, right.
Like I don't know why that makes that better, but it does.
Yeah, it's better than like Oh, get the exclusive extended corn for only $40.
So you can actually play at a reasonable distance from your TV and don't get eye cancer.
Well,
I can't.
I'll also say briefly, it's Steam sale time, and I bought my my big purchase, which is I got XCOM 2 half off.
Oh, fuck.
Yes, happy. It was my big purchase. I went ahead and went in for it, and it's pretty damn great. It looks and plays a lot like the classic XCOM. They didn't butcher it anyway. They knew what you love, but added some really nice features. One of the really good ones is now there's this sort of sneak attack mode where if you manage to sneak into an enemy encampment the first time, you get like a huge attack bonus on all the guys at once, and so it helps you sort of plan your move first. But sometimes you hit 2 people and there's 4 people and you're like, damn it, I should have gone for 4 people. It's like it has a nice new level of strategy. And I've already lost my first person. The first goddamn mission. It was like the character from the tutorial, and she's like, I have a blade. And then she was just standing there, and this guy tried to shoot at her. This dumbass hits the truck, and the truck explodes that they're both standing next to, and they both die. And I was like, you asshole. But as Jack and I were talking about earlier, with games like that and Fire Emblem, it's often best to just let it go, because that's part of the storytelling.
Oh yeah, when you were telling me about Fire Emblem.
It's there is an Iron Man mode for all I think maybe for all difficulty settings, or maybe it's just like the hardest one, I'm not sure, but it basically will make you save over all your saves if someone dies, so that you can't reload, but I don't do it like that. But if I do legitimately lose someone, then I do try to keep playing with their loss, and it's horrible. So I'll talk more about it when I get more into it. But I've already died.
Yeah,
I've already said
definitely do, because I have never played an XCOM game before, and that one I am kind of interested into maybe getting into.
Yeah, it's a very interesting idea of doing sort of a mix of RTS and shooter and all kinds of other things. It's a cool concept, and I definitely am bad about loading. I need to get better about that. Just accept my dumb choices.
Yeah, sorry, I grabbed coffee real quick, guys. My bad.
It's like, Jack went kind of quiet. What
I
happened?
was like, because I mentioned you, and you were like, I was like, nothing. Like, all right, Jack.
Okay, moving on. Well, shit.
I can hear it. I can hear it while I was making coffee from my headphones. I was like, Ben's asking me a question. Uh-oh.
We were just talking about, like, it's better to play Fire Emblem and XCOM accepting losses of people, because it is the point of the game.
I think this is one of those things where it's like it's kind of, and I struggle with this a little bit, like story integration into gameplay. And one of the and I hate it when like a mechanic is like, it's like, what do you decide, the mechanic or the story, and like, how do you integrate story so the act of playing the game builds you into the kind of story that you want to tell. And for me, at least, the Fire Emblem story, Conquest more than Birthright, when you're losing characters, kind of tells the story and sells the drama. Your connection to the characters tied into them. So, like, if you take that away, it creates this kind of icky void. Specifically, like, they're telling you, oh, this is terrible, and you did this massacre and all this stuff. It's like, you massacred these things, and, there's several points, like, the darkest Fire Emblem gets, they imply that you, like, hung this character brutal, and like, in kind of like, and that, like, they imply that somebody like rapes and murders this woman a little bit. Well, it's I'm not sure. It's very, I don't know. I've gone back and forth. There's this one arc in Conquest where you actually, and again, the hard thing is that, she's your character in Birthright. She's one of your characters in Birthright, and you essentially, like, and it's not the main character, but it's like one of his men goes crazy and, like, burns down a village, and kind of implicitly, like, rapes and murders this person. And outside the context of you feeling the loss of, like, characters and combat, it feels icky. And I think that's the thing, is, like, I kind of came back to it later. I haven't played through it, but I imagine without kind of the emotional import, that whole thing. And again, I consider that the difference between Birthright and Conquest. I had an easy time with Birthright, had a really hard time with Conquest. With Birthright, everything feels like happy-go-lucky, evil demon king, no import, no issues. With Conquest, I was losing people left and right. And also, because the game is darker, it really sells that to me. Yeah. Which also with Dark Souls, which is kind of the other thing, is like the way that it makes you search for story and the way that it makes you search for what's going on in the story, I think is a really great way to do environmental storytelling, and by extension doing like it through character as well. I don't know. I just feel like those two games are two examples. XCOM and Fire Emblem and Dark Souls are great games in terms of doing storytelling without, you know what I mean, without shoving it down your throat. They do really great gameplay as story.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And XCOM does a good job of having characters who are in your hub that you
my god
know versus like just general people that you can assign. Like I showed Peter, I made a guy look exactly like a modern day hipster, and he's now Colonel Hipster, and he's like my go-to like assault rifle guy.
If
Colonel Hipster dies, I might be very sad because I spent some time on him.
Yeah, he sent me a short little video of him just spinning his character around. So I just saw his face, and he was like Commander Hipster, and I was just like, handsome hipster, you know, dude, like yeah, you did good.
I have to get you guys I have to find this story from you. There's this excellent XCOM fan fiction story about love between a guy and like one of those snake women things. And it's amazing. Like it's like it's one of those things that like I was like reading the first couple paragraphs as a laugh, and I was like enthralled.
Like, this is funny. Wait, I'm actually.
Because I love it when fan fiction like gets serious. Like usually it's just like a laugh and like all whatever. But okay, people are gonna hate me for saying that.
I totally read a slash fiction once that was just like I just wanted like a lesbian porn thing, and then like the more I read it, it's like I love these characters. What's gonna happen to them?
Right?
And like I read the whole thing.
No, at least we can like admit, like let's just admit on here that we all read slash just because it's like, you know, it's like I'm straight, but I totally read gay slash fiction.
It's got the most feels.
It's like hairy and snary. It works.
Hairy and snary.
All right, Peter, what have you been playing?
Harry and Snape.
Apart from still playing Final Fantasy 15 and me not being done with the story like Jack is, but I'm getting there. I've reached a part in the story, Jack, right after you get the Leviathan and another major plot point happens, but I will not say that here in case there's anyone who hasn't played the game or hasn't gotten reached that point, because like me, they're taking for fucking ever to do all the side quests and don't want to move on because there's those 2 or 3 or 5 that are still sitting there. But yeah, besides playing that, I played Telltale's Batman Episode 5 and finished that game.
How did you feel about the finale?
I actually really liked the finale. I mean, like, with the final fight. Granted, you know, depending on how you feel about QuickTime events, you may totally hate the final fight, or simply because of how they set it up, you're like totally into it, like I was. I'm just like, press this button, press E, press Q, press left, press right, because like, but I like how they ended it because much like with the Walking Dead game, season 1 and of course season 2, because Telltale, I think they just started releasing like you know, like kind of, I guess, season 3. I forget what the official name of it is called, for the Walking Dead game, and then also how they ended the Wolf Among Us. With especially with stuff that happened in like episodes 4 and now episode 5, they have set up pieces for them to take it beyond just this game. If DC, which I'm sure they will, if DC says, you know what, we want you to continue with your version of Batman, we want you to continue with your version of Gotham and how you have interpreted and represented these characters, and especially because, not especially, in part because of who the main villain was, and because of how different people were connected to them. I am excited to see and hopeful that they keep going because granted, it's a spoiler alert, but not a spoiler alert. You do meet Joker before he is Joker. I will say that, but I want to know where they take that. I mean, like, yeah, like, I mean, he wasn't like a major character. Well, duh. Yeah, you can't have Batman without Joker. I'm sorry.
I get it. No,
yeah,
I get it. I get it why you have to. I get it why they do it.
Same.
I just
I am too, and I had that same reaction when he showed up, and I was just like, why?
I mean, I think like that's my thing is like after the Arkham games and that the fact that like he's always super tied into Batman. Personally, my favorite Batman stories don't involve the Joker. I still get why though. I just would like, especially with Telltale Batman, I just want to explore, the Batman mythos without Joker because I feel like we're starting, and especially since Nolan and we got so popular culturalized, specifically Batman did.
Right.
He's thought of like this half of a whole that Joker fulfills, and I like that kind of reading of them as these two characters, but it's starting to make the Joker kind of like too forced in this situation. It's like, yes, I will admit that like his greatest like moments, some of the greatest moments of like cinema for Batman definitely involve the Joker. But like, there are Ra's al Ghul storylines that are like, way better than the best Joker storylines. I'm probably going to get fucking shot for that.
I mean, I think that's a good point, and now that you bring up Ra's al Ghul, I do hope that they bring him into this. As far as like with how so many storylines with Batman involve the Joker, and how the Joker is so closely tied into that storyline. I will say when the Joker was introduced, he wasn't like super tied in. He wasn't super tied into the story. It was more of like the Joker is a character who is in this space, and Bruce happens to be talking to him. Like it wasn't like he is totally and centrally important to everything happening. It was more of like this is his role. This is what he's doing. Goodbye. I wonder where they'll go with Joker, but I do hope they don't make him the main villain in the next Batman game.
Yeah, that would be a nice improvement.
Yeah. So you wanna move us along, Ben?
Yeah. So what's Jack? Do you hear that off the corner?
News tonight on the news. I don't know.
First up, with big interesting news from Overwatch. They released a new comic, their 10th comic, I believe, so far, called Reflections, and had a nice little stories about a lot of people in Christmas, and I want to hear Jack's thoughts on all of them. But the biggest one was that it focused on Tracer, and while it answered a few interesting questions, like that she could phase in and out of reality for real, the big one that everyone's talking about is that it revealed that she has a girlfriend, making her possibly, as far as we know, the first sort of cover art game character to be canonically queer.
No,
that's for damn
pretty
sure.
much. And I actually did research on this afternoon. I cannot find anything. I cannot find anything that even approaches, especially. I mean, I think
the
there's
closest
something
would be male and femme shep in Mass Effect 3, because you couldn't be
gay
in 1 or 2.
Nah, no, I wouldn't count that.
I would not count that.
All right,
not like having a specific. Here is a side story of this character. They are gay. That is a character. They are gay, and that it is the blockbuster game of the year that won the Game Awards show and is on the box art and is essentially the titular character of the company. Like there has never been this high profile of video game homosexual character. Period.
Nope.
I would agree with that. And so, what do we all think about the comic and the reveal? I thought it was great. I thought it was really nice and really subtle and really well done. I don't really have any complaints about it. So I'm sure they're out there.
It was like granted. Well, no. It reminded me of the movie Paranorman with the football player character. I forget his name. How at the very end, just nonchalant. It was like oh yeah, you should meet my boyfriend. It'll be great. It reminded me of that. It reminded me of that with how it wasn't like this big huge point they were trying to make. It was just a thing. It was just a thing for Tracer, and that was part of her life.
I love it. I think I've heard some complaints that people say it's like, Overwatch has been being a cock tease with the gay character bit.
That's more fans than Overwatch.
Yeah, I've heard some other. I don't think
like,
I haven't. I don't have an issue with the period.
And then Russia didn't allow the comic in their country because of their anti-gay laws, so they couldn't.
That is actually fucked up. And there's usually I feel like there's one of the things is like I don't think about on a regular basis like how mildly fucked up Russia is in like certain ways.
Yeah.
And then you and then you like direct examples is like this comic can't exist there. What the fuck? Like that's like scary shit. Like, it's and I'm sure they would point out and it's like, well, if you're transgender in North Carolina, you're fucked. And I was like, yeah, okay, fair.
Okay.
It's just like, yes, but that's one state. We're awful, and I recognize that. And we just voted in a new governor. We literally changed governors because of it. And that would be my defense. But it's,
right.
It's not going to matter because North Carolina legislator just took away all the governor's power as soon as the other one got unelected. So
wow.
But yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good of them to know that they probably knew that Russia wouldn't like it or other countries wouldn't like it. That might be a little bit homophobic and also get their games, but they went with it anyways, which I really appreciate.
It's important to note that Blizzard chose not to release it there.
Oh, did they? They chose not to. Okay.
Blizzard chose not to. So it's not like I highly
Russia
doubt.
told them no.
Yeah, I mean no. There are specific. They are correct. There are specific laws in Russia, but whether or not they would have enforced something like this is up for debate. Just like how do you enforce HB2 in North Carolina? You don't. No one does enforce it. It's impossible to enforce, and it's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, it just causes mob. Crap.
Is this law by extension there also bullshit and is Blizzard by extension staging a protest? I don't know how real that is. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's definitely fucked up on Russia's part.
Totally, but just in terms of the game itself, it is just really awesome that she is the title character. And like you said, it's not even like a lot of people. I think who's the sniper character? Sorry,
she's Widowmaker.
No, it wasn't Widowmaker. It was a different one. There was another female a lot of people thought was going to be gay.
Oh, she's not. Anna is not because it's actually heavily hinted in this specific comic that she's into Soldier 76.
Right. So Jack, you want to talk about the other sort of interesting things from this?
Yeah, so it's actually there's a lot to unpack here.
It's only like 16 pages, and only like 4 of them have non-tracer stuff, and there's a lot.
2 of those panels literally covers the entire cast of what the entire cast of this game is doing or illicitly like this 2-page spread is covering what the entire cast is doing for Christmas, and or the holidays, and it's really things. First thing I want to get to though is like, damn, that redhead is so hot.
Tracer's girlfriend is very attractive,
and I want to touch on this. I'm glad that she kind of exists like she does. And I'm not gonna lie, she is drawn very sexually, like specifically with that first shot where she's got 2 hot mugs of cocoa. Her shirt's kind of astray with her shoulder. I don't know. Yeah. I just think that it's very interesting to me. I mean, it also kind of recalls to me like those images of Mary Jane.
The infamous one where she's like way too.
She's like it's like her waist is like non-existent. And
yeah,
all that kind of stuff. And that's the difference. It's like this is clearly like a real person and not as bad as like that. But it does kind of recall like the superheroism. Like Mary Jane to me is like this kind of superhero touchstone to me, even though she is kind of a one-dimensional character. That's fine. Like her character is a hair color.
Right.
But she does have like these, and I mean it's fair. And like that's the only criticism you can have for her being of a different race in the new Spider-Man: Homecoming is that it's like her only defining characteristic was her hair color. But again, I think that this is like this does things to me, and especially like watching it and having like somebody else kind of have that. Does it bother either of you that you have this girl in like a support sort of role and sexualized in the same way that classical comic book character women in refrigerators are, because she has a very women in refrigerators vibe?
Well, that's something we'll have to see if she is the dead lesbian trope. I mean, that is
Yeah,
the next
if they
worry,
ever come back to it.
for sure.
They're not that stupid.
I think not. I think one thing I will say about this comic that is very, because we have to kind of move on because I'm just a little short on time, so I can't talk too much about all the details. Though I definitely hear you talk about it eventually, Jack. But
Okay, if we have low time, I have to run through just a couple things. Is that
okay,
fine?
go real quick.
All right, real quick. So we move on to the big panel. You notice that you have Genji, and you have him at a monastery, and he's just sending a letter to Mercy, which in the bottom of the panel you can see Mercy reading that letter. You have this amazing panel of Torbjorn and I think what's his name, is like having a Christmas in their huge family, and Torbjorn, this little fucking munchkin dude. The big thing is that you see Reaper and specifically Widowmaker. Widowmaker's backstory is that she actually became Widowmaker when she fucking killed her husband, and you see her at his grave leaving a single rose on the tombstone. And it's fucking chilling, and it's just especially since she killed him, and it brings up, and she was brainwashed into killing him and is still technically brainwashed. It's not clear how that works, but then it gets, and then the worst thing is that you see Reaper in the rain looking at a family, which is assumed to be his old family that's moved on to a new guy, and he can't be with them because he's obviously smoking a vapor suit or something like that after he was killed, and Soldier 76 was hurt as well. When they were the original Overwatch guys, and he was the head of Blackwatch, and they disagreed. So this reveals a lot. I think that's the thing, is like, we know a lot of this backstory, but so much of this reveals characteristics of how they feel about things. Like, Reaper isn't killing, Reaper is thought of as like this murderous dude.
Like this cold-hearted.
Yeah, but he just wants his family to be happy. Mm-hmm. Like, he doesn't care that somebody else has taken him and taken the happiness that was him. He just likes that he makes them happy.
That's
like that is such a fucking powerful character moment.
That's one thing I think is so brilliant about this game in terms of what Blizzard has done, is I think they really smartly looked at the success of League of Legends. And they're like, yeah, League of Legends is a good game, but what do people always talk about? It's like the characters. And right. I don't think they had as good a character. I don't know much about League of Legends. I'll admit, like, maybe there are deep backstories that were later put in or not.
There are, but you have to realize League of Legends has multiple times retconned the
that's what I figured.
Overarching. Yeah, they've already, like, I don't think they expected people to fasten onto the characters in the way that they did. Exactly. And this game gets that.
Exactly. This game gets that. They created very unique imagery and character design, much like League of Legends did, and they make that simple. But they wisely knew that people will want to keep playing if there's this ongoing story. Yes, there's the same levels and the same missions, but in a way, if you tell this ongoing story outside of it, you're going to keep people invested, and you're going to keep this fan energy. Because going on Overwatch and reading people talk about it, it's like, are people talking about this like a TV show? And that's kind of amazing for a video game, and very, very intelligent on Blizzard's part. So I think it's definitely shown to me that Blizzard has a very smart strategy in the future for Overwatch.
Yeah, and I think it could go bad. I think, like, they've risked. I think this has bought a lot of fan enjoyment. Them doing the right thing. I don't want to necessarily call it the right thing, but they're doing a good job here, and it's good to see them doing a good job. I get worried about the way they present characters sometimes. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something that kind of freaked people out.
Yeah, I feel like that might be just only
a little inevitable.
All right, well, next up, continuing with our we'll talk more about Val. Maybe
Sorry about
2016. That's all right. I was glad to hear it. Like I said, it's very interesting about Overwatch is the way it's telling its characters, and it's good to know that we have someone on here who knows all about that. But there was like a 2-month period, and the weird thing is that, and I swear to God, this is the last thing. Okay. It exists. It understands that a game's entire backstories can exist on wikis alone. True.
Yes.
And that's the genius of it, is it knows where people will actually go and look this stuff up.
Right.
And
the
it's
majority
all there.
of people, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't read the comics. I've only read Reflections. But right. I know all these backstories from reading wiki entries and all this stuff.
Totally.
And I love these characters. And it's just they get that it's a new form of how people interact with video games, and they've maximized upon it.
It's like whenever we use Memory Alpha for Geek Space 9 because Memory Alpha is like a massive plethora of knowledge for all things Star Trek, and it's like.
There's also no other option when dealing with Star Trek universe.
Well, yeah, this is true, but still.
And there was a good, whether you like it or not, there was a good thing Anthony Birch said once when he was about to write Borderlands 2, and he said he looked at the Borderlands wiki and he was like, everything I write will be canon. Like, everything I write on this wiki will eventually like be written up and tracked as fact in this universe. And there's like a weird new knowledge about that in modern storytelling, where you're right, like someone who's making Star Trek is like, whatever I say about this Klingon will be fact forever.
It's great. Like you have to be so much more careful, especially like I feel like that's like you almost need like a team of fucking scholars. Like J.J. Abrams, I imagine, just has like almost like a team of like Star Trek lore scholars in his back pocket, making shit make sense. Because the fact that there isn't more fan rage about things that don't make sense, and there was never not going to be, no matter what. But the fact that it is
there is now like officially people whose entire job is to keep the canon in line. Like seriously, Disney, that's one of their big inventions, is they have like canon supervisor people now. Before it was like this. You just had to kind of know and like try to respect other people's work as best you can, and occasionally you fucked it up. But like now it's like you have to go to these people and be like, I want to do this, this, and this. And like, well, you can't do that because this character's going to be here in the comic book or whatever, you know. So it's like it's fascinating, but that's the new future we live in, where everything's on wikis. Because you're right, it does change storytelling so much.
I feel like Jack and I should have been canon supervisors over at Square Enix, just so we could tell them, like Nomura, hey, you're making Kingdom Hearts way too damn confusing.
Can you imagine trying to do a canon audit for Kingdom Hearts? It would be a nightmare.
No, whatever you're thinking, no, don't do it, you sons of bitches.
Like that's basically what we'd have said for like the past 3 games. But like, don't do that.
Past 3 games, post Kingdom Hearts and on.
Oh my god! I'll give them some leniency.
Well, I'm going to move the next news story into our final roundup, and I'll just include this in part of it. I think we're going to just talk just in general about some of the big stories about 2016 and what games we liked and what games we didn't like and things like that. So I'll first start with one of the companies I think sort of defined this year and sort of fell off this year was Valve. And they're sort of ending this year in an interesting note, as they were fined ordered to pay $3 million in Australia for refusing funds and quote-unquote misleading customers. Now, the reason this is, as you know, Steam has a very harsh no refunds agreement. And apparently in Australia, the customer has much more rights than sort of in America and other places where people are sort of legally allowed to have refunds. So this is a bit more of a regional issue, but it does bring up an interesting question, which is that with the rise of No Man's Sky being one of the big stories of the year, the failure of No Man's Sky and the anger people had with that, and all these sort of Steam early access games a lot of people feel are very scammy. What do we feel about sort of the Valve's tumultuous 2016?
I think it was a good and bad year for games. I think that we're kind of still rebounding from. I think it was quiet, and to some extent, like it's a lot more things happened this year to do with the law in terms of how games are looked at and done. I think like overarchingly it's positive though, after like last year's 2015's like Gamergate and everything. I felt overwhelmingly like people are just like scared to push each other's buttons, and then conversely, everyone else is trying to push as many buttons as they can. I think that there's been this kind of abbreviation post Gamergate, and it's just weird to see it settle down, and like the trolls aren't going away, but like people are kind of trying to figure out this new universe of gaming that we've come to. And in the midst of that, we've had one of the best years, to my mind, of new games ever.
I think we had some very interesting crop of games, and definitely a lot more, especially PS4 and Xbox One. When you look at the Metacritic list, it's just
fair
really
right here.
good.
Like PS4 is like this year for me at least, and that's where I've been, and that's again where I do my primary gaming experience. It's I think like the marquee titles have been up this year is what I mean, and quality and presentation, and yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. I felt like it was a good year because I got Uncharted 4, Dark Souls 3, Final Fantasy 15, Titanfall 2, Dishonored 2, like Battlefield 1, Doom, Overwatch.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I didn't play The Last Guardian, but The Last Guardian. And then also stuff like, oh God, what is it? I'm blanking on it. Fuck. Well, a lot of good games. Okay. You get the, I felt like I never, and this is the thing is like, I do tend to not pick up bad games if I see bad reviews about it. So I felt like when I had to play a game, I always had something very, very good to hand. Adam Jensen game. What the fuck is that? It's Deus Ex.
Deus Ex.
Yeah.
Mankind Divided.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I'll agree. I'll agree with that because the game, like, even though granted I didn't exactly play as many games as I would have liked, the ones that I did pick up, I did so knowing that A, I was interested in it, and B, because of whoever the developer was, whether it be like Naughty Dog or Square Enix or whoever, what have you, I knew it was going to be at the very least a solid game that I would enjoy.
And I definitely agree with you, Jack, that this was sort of a year where it felt like a lot of people were on eggshells about a lot of things, and we definitely saw a lot more cynicism about the game industry this year. I feel like No Man's Sky killed the last of any sort of non-cynicism people had, because it was such a like non-cynical looking game, and to be the most cynical experience of the year, is probably what crushed a lot of people. A lot of people view space very elegantly and that idea very elegantly, and I think that was a tough one for people to realize. I viewed it cynically for a long time, and so I wasn't shocked when it ended up being not good, but I think a lot of people tried to get into it, and I think we're starting to see a reaction against the myth of the indie game developer too. I think like we've seen a lot more people be upset about early access, a lot more people feel that indie games shouldn't be sort of trying to compete with AAA games and doing more stuff like Owlboy, or maybe they all have to do that, but like maybe there is this sort of feeling that early access and things like that are starting to become a problem.
I like to think of 2016 as a year where people are trying to figure shit out and end up pissing everyone off in a big way. And I think it's maybe this is the year like part of the process. Like maybe 2015, 2016. The best way to put it to my mind is that the bubble popped a little bit with some of like the bubble popped initially in the gaming industry, and like we got too big to. I don't know how to put this. We got too big, and because of that, like our community got kind of self-destructed.
Yeah.
Like it's no longer like there's all these groups of people who do play video games. It's like we got too big as a group, and like nerd culture took over with Marvel, and then because like video games just couldn't be a thing for just nerds anymore.
Right.
And then that exploded. And then also now we have this thing where it's like the types of games is kind of facing a bubble. Where it's like you sell me things like, Don't Starve or something as like a AAA title. And I'm like, nah, brah. Nah, brah. Like that's not a $60 game. Like that's not. Like, and I think that's the other thing too, is like we this is all going on in the background of like, kind of we feel like, it's now the question is like we have this weird $60 console thing still happening. Mm-hmm. So what can indie developers get away with is the new thing.
Totally. And what can consoles get away with? I mean, I think that's why the Switch was one of the weirdest reveals for me this year, because like, oh, that's like an old... I forgot consoles could be like that, where it's like, oh, it's like an innovation in the design and the idea. Whether it works or not, obviously we'll see 2017. But like, this is the year where Xbox and PS4 were like, we're never doing radical innovations ever again. It's going to be minor changes from here on out. Versus Nintendo being like, you can pull it away and go on a trip. And you're like, what?
and I'm just going to say it right now. Like, I like PS4 and I like Xbox One. That is the fucking death knell if they do that.
If they stop doing those radical innovations like they
Why
used to.
and I think it's actually going to be Xbox One when Xbox figures out whatever way to fucking integrate its console structure into a desktop, and that's just one unit you buy and you play games and you can use Steam on it.
Yeah,
Because it's coming.
Because they're already going that way. They know
they've already integrated it into your TV entertainment system. So they're just one step away from figuring out computers.
And as much as this whole year I've been like, God, it's such a great time to be on the PS4 ecosystem. Fuck it, like it's like the Grand Budapest Hotel. It's like you're walking around this old retired wreck, and it's just it's just
have Wes
biting
Anderson movies
time.
been on your TV lately, Jack? There's a lot of Wes
Yes.
Anderson.
So I was at home over Christmas, and we watched the Darjeeling Limited, Moonrise Kingdom, and Grand Budapest.
Did you watch Fantastic Mr. Fox?
I'm not complaining. I was just curious.
This will be a I can't remember his name ever. Why
Wes
can't I do it?
Oh Lord!
Oh my goodness.
Well, let's continue on the cynical route, but we'll end positive. What were there?
I was
sort of major...
I was positive. I thought this was a great year in games.
We will end positive. We're going to a cynical route now, but we will end positive because I agree it was a good year in games. But let's talk disappointments first. Were there any major disappointments for either of you?
Okay, well, I'm eternally this negative voice. Can I do the Dark Souls 3 thing real fast?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, you mentioned this earlier, and I want to hear it.
I mean, I kind of t-balled this for you, but I have one.
You did, and I've just made it into a thing. I've ruined your actual beautiful.
No, it's okay because you reminded me of a game I wanted to talk about disappointing me. So you go for it.
Yeah, no. So I think the thing is, like, I list Dark Souls 3 as the most disappointing game for me this year, and that's because I love that series so much. And I say disappointing, not bad. It's not bad by any stretch. If I was to list top 10 game of the year, Dark Souls 3 beyond there. But it disappointed me in terms of where that series is going and the way that it ended. And the fact that it's going away from that core combat issues and the difference of how it's injected Bloodborne. I like Bloodborne. It's funny too, because I don't like the direction that Bloodborne combat went in, and the fact that it injected into Dark Souls. Like, I'll forgive that to Bloodborne, but I won't forgive it to Dark Souls 3 doing it. And it's kind of issues with that. Also issues about the fact that Dark Souls needed to do the Final Fantasy thing. Of any series that really needed to do the Final Fantasy thing, Dark Souls needed to do that far more desperately than Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy feels like it's weird to me because I feel like both Final Fantasy and and this is the thing for me, the disappointing games of the year, like RPGs spin on their stories, and the more open world sometimes you make that, it's kind of damaging to the existing story and how you take in that story. And so while I thought like we have advancement in gameplay, specifically Final Fantasy 15, specifically Dark Souls 3, I still think Dark Souls 3 plays better than either of the other ones, any of the other games. I still find that the story is very, very, very lacking in how Final Fantasy 15 presents it, and then how Dark Souls 3 is like going about it. Like, you hunt for the story, but more so ever than before, the story isn't completed. And I know that because people pick that game apart on the internet to the nth degree. Mm-hmm. And so though I can't find the story, and I'm just trying to get a sense of like what it's hinting at, I know now that inside Dark Souls 3 there is an incomplete story, and it's impossible. Even with people at the point of picking apart the code for that stuff, like they haven't found
deep, like incomplete and deep story. Like, you can
exactly
find 20, 25, 30-minute videos on YouTube of people like just explaining the lore alone.
Oh, dude, there is an 1.5-hour video from from Vati on Bloodborne that I still to this day got me into Dark Souls and Bloodborne lore.
Send that to me. I need to watch it.
Oh, it's amazing.
Because you are now like the third person to mention that video to me, and I feel bad for not having watched it yet.
Oh, no, it's a pain. You gotta get
set
a drink.
Aside time.
Yeah, like it's an hour. It's an hour. It's like you were
you're
literally going to go
watch
a movie about a dude talking about a video game.
Hey, I mean,
if you get 10 minutes into it, though, he hooks you hard. I'll say that. Like Vati is by and far the best, and still by extension, I think that It's just that it's kind of gone down, and I'll give this to the Bonfire Side chat guys, because it hurts their numbers every time they talk about and be negative about Dark Souls 3, because people want to love this game so bad, and I want to love this game so bad, but I think they're very, very right in their statement that it's just not quite there. The story is kind of, like it's 20, they've always done this where it's like 45% of the story's complete and you guess the other 60%, but now it feels like 10% of the story's there. And you're just left like, you're just sitting here, it's like, yeah, that fan theory could be like, people with like ridiculous fan theories could be correct because there's just not enough facts and information to do the YouTube thing anymore for Dark Souls 3.
There's a line that I liked from Zero Punctuation's review of Braid way back in the day, where he says like it's like trying to read a book through a keyhole in a door, where like there's a story there, but you can only get so goddamn little that it kind of drives you insane, because that like you're supposed to like piece it together, but if you only have so much, like it's not enough.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is that like playing Dark Souls games have always intentionally been to feel like that, and this is the first one where I've like, it's annoyed me so much I've gone on YouTube and realized halfway through like the story isn't there.
Right. It doesn't exist.
It's like, and that's the thing, is like Dark Souls only works for me, like really works for me, when I'm trying desperately to squeeze my fucking head through a keyhole. And I'm obsessed with it. I become obsessed with it. I become obsessed with every fact, detail, and I read like every item I get, I read the description of. Can you imagine doing that in an RPG? In Final Fantasy? I become obsessed with it, and that's why it disappointed me.
A little bit, actually.
Yeah, I know you do, Peter. You're my people.
Yeah.
Well, for me, the big disappointment for me was Mafia 3. I thought the idea of doing a video game where you play a black character in the 60s and you have to deal with actual racism was great, but it also reminded me that sometimes you just have to make a game that works. And Mafia 3 is a game that doesn't work. It became way more infamous for its glitches and its terrible game design than it did, and all the things that it didn't have from Mafia 2 that got down-resed or made worse, and various little things that got changed. Whatever interesting story it was trying to tell was completely lost, and I think it's a sobering reminder that you can make a great story, and I've seen some Mafia 3, anyone say it's a great story, but at least it's an interesting attempt at one, and you can try that, but it doesn't matter if the core story, if your movie's not in focus, no one's going to care, and if your game is full of glitches, it's the same way, so... That's
a good thing. I do feel like this has also been the year for technical issues.
Oh my god, yes. That is scarily true.
Sorry, what'd you say, Jack? I missed it.
No, I was just saying, I thought this was also the year for like technical game glitching issues. Like, I feel like, yeah. I mean, and I know that like it was kicked off last year by,
Mad Max?
Not even last year, 2 years ago by Unity. Yeah.
No, I was playing Final Fantasy 15 the other day, and at one point when I called my Chocobo and got on, I turned around and I looked at the other three, Prompto, Ignis, and Gladio. And Gladio, instead of sitting on the Chocobo, was standing on the Chocobo. and while I was slightly frustrated, I also got quite the laugh out of it. And then I started running, and just imagine a Chocobo with Gladio, like I just kind of.
I like to imagine it with some Celine Dion in the background.
Like
far wherever you are.
Seriously, like, and his body was like swinging with whatever the Chocobo's like center of gravity was, and it was the funniest thing. But it's like, why does this glitch exist?
Oh Lord!
All right, well, I gotta get going soon, but let's quickly say what our favorite game of the year was. Peter, what would you say is your favorite game of the year?
Honestly, so I'm gonna say it's Telltale's Batman. Episodes 1 through 5. I mean, granted, yes, I'm having a lot of fun playing 15, but I also haven't finished it, so I can't fully give I can't give like a full like judgment call judgment call on the game as a whole. But I have finished Batman, and that game I enjoyed. Of course, it could also be because I just finished it like a week ago and it's still very fresh in my mind. But screw it.
Oh, very interesting. Jack, what is yours?
Oh, I'm very interesting. Overwatch. I think that it's just cool, and it's great.
It is.
Sorry,
It's just cool.
I played it at a friend's, Jack. It is cool. Like, granted, I suck, even though I was playing as Farah because I forgot. Okay, yes, you have rockets, but you're also kind of gliding through the air. But I had fun.
My favorite thing is just like even more so now. Like I'll definitely be like. I've kept playing as Lucio just because I love doing healers in that game. And I think that's the other thing is like that it has such secondary. There are so many like games packed into this game if you just kind of take each character as a game unto itself, essentially. Yeah. And I think that's what makes the difference for that. And like people are like, well, you didn't like Titanfall 1, which had so much more multiplayer modes and everything. And I'm like, yeah, but there was only 3 Titans and essentially just 3 ways to play the game and that sort of thing. So fuck you. They weren't even really different from one another. I think, and sorry, I don't mean to. I want to eventually write an article comparing that and like game modes and like the way that like Overwatch is just like the asymmetric gameplay and the styles and like the different ways that you can play that game. Like I suck with Tracer and I could still like have fun doing a 20-minute like Tracer round and just running around and being like, hee hee.
Hello, love.
Yeah, I know, and I think that's just what it is, and I think that I think it's echoed in the community, and god damn, its community is fun, and also like just being on pub forums and that sort of thing, and getting on Discord and finding groups, and it's actually really easy to find groups and put them together. It's just one of the first groups, and it's like I never did that with Call of Duty. I never went out and found a group of people to play Call of Duty with. I just thought that was kind of like asking for it, and that's the thing is like I have no fear in this community of doing that. I'm sure there's tons of bad stuff, but I've had great experiences. I'm also an asshole on there though, so maybe everyone is just an asshole. I don't know.
Very
Ben,
nice.
What's your favorite game?
It's technically DLC, but it's 30 hours long, so I think that counts.
Go for it.
Which would be Witcher 3 Blood and Wine, which is this very lovely expansion. What I've really appreciated about the 3 different Witcher games, you can count them all the ones that have come out of Witcher 3, sort of the tone. The first one feels more sort of classic mix of fantasy in its own weird over-sexualized way, and then the second one is more sort of a dark Edgar Allan Poe-ish, Clive Barker-ish, more horror fantasy fairy tale story, and this one is more sort of George R. Martin Game of Thrones. It's very beautiful, but with lots of family and murder and sadness and like a lot of very interesting storytelling in this one. The level is really great and the design is really great. There's just like a really interesting land. They did a great job not just feeling like, oh, here's more of the same. It's like a completely designed new world. There's a lot of really wonderful places to explore, and I like Witcher 3. It's the kind of game that I get into, and so this was just even if Witcher 3 was probably my game of the year last year, and I'm that fucking Reddit guy who won't shut up about Witcher 3, I know our gaming circle jerk likes to make fun of me, but that's fine. I love it very much unabashedly, and so that's my game of the year. And that is our final podcast of the year.
Woo!
Yay!
Thanks everybody so much for listening. We really appreciate it. We will keep chugging along next year, and hopefully next year will be just as good as this year, because I agree with Jack. I thought it was a pretty interesting year for gaming, even though I'm didn't have as much money, so I didn't. I'm catching up slowly now, just playing XCOM, for example. So, but I'll get
thank
there.
God for end of year gaming deals. Like,
right.
I went, and that was the other thing is like I went in and traded in Battlefield 1. You thought I like presented them with gold, like they were like.
Oh my gosh.
It was great too because I bought
God.
Battlefield 1 at $30 from Target, and I gave it to GameStop for $27.05.
Dude.
I was like, wow, I've had Battlefield 1 for maybe 2 or 3 months for like $3.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have to admit, I'm really tempted to trade in Titanfall 2, but I'm pretty sure I won't get that much.
Well, for everyone at us, we want to thank y'all for listening, and make sure to check out all of our shows at TuscanShed.com. There you can check out Animania, our anime show, Geek Space 9, our show about Deep Space Nine. We have the Movie Gang podcast, where we just did our epic drunken review of White Christmas, and we'll be coming out in New Year's with our drunken review of the entire year, which I hear was quite a catastrophe, and I'm excited to listen to.
It's
gonna be
great.
quite a fun.
It's great. If Andrew would ever fucking get back to me.
Andrew Rieger calling you out on air.
Hey.
Do you have actually cell phone numbers for him? Sorry, I was.
Yeah, I'll text you. But anyways, be sure to check out all those shows at DustinShow.com. And if you like this show, please make sure to like, rate, and review us on iTunes. It does, in fact, help the algorithm find us new listeners. And until next year, this is Save Point saying bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.